Let me now go on to introducing Ms. Karuna Gopal, who is the founder president, Foundation for Futuristic Cities. She's an internationally acclaimed thought leader, keynote speaker, and a futurist. She is the founder president of Foundation for Futuristic Cities, a think tank that has influenced urban transformation in India for 1.5 decades. Her work is at the intersection of technology, innovation, and future cities. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're very audible.
Okay, thank you very much and good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, ISGF, for inviting me again this year. It's always been a pleasure to be a part of ISGF interventions and programs here in India, elsewhere too. Well, I don't have a presentation, but I have 5 very important points to speak, and I'm going to give a macro perspective about pandemic resilient cities. Now, we cannot speak about pandemic resilient cities without touching upon COVID-19. COVID-19 has devastated the world. We know it, everybody knows it. But India somehow has managed to tide over the difficulties with a minor dent to our economy and very less deaths. Now, that success story of India, is it attributable to our institutional strength at cities that we could tide over these difficulties? Did we have fantastic response systems, rapid response systems, or did we have a mitigation plan in mind or at operational level? Actually, none of these. If we go back and kind of diagnose the situation, we could come out of it primarily because of the leadership, and the country's prime minister gave a call and he said, let's go for a lockdown. We complied. He said, let's wash our hands. We complied. He said, put on the masks. We complied. And he said social distancing, and we complied. Since COVID-19 is not going to be the last of pandemics the world is going to see, are we going to follow the same process? I doubt it. We are not going to be successful if we stick to the same thing without building our institutional capabilities at city level, at state level, and at a national level. So this is basically the fundamental point that I'd like to drive home. We could come out of the situation quite unscathed, I must say, but we're not going to be too lucky because there are variants of these the viruses lurking right around the corners. Anything could happen to our country and our cities. So how do we build pandemic resilient cities? Now, before I give 1 or 2 solutions that come to my mind straight away, I'd like to talk about the scenario, the disaster scenario of India. India, I'm sure all of you know, and in the past presentation also we covered that India is one among the top 10 disaster-prone countries of the world. Our annual loss to the country is something to the tune of $10 billion per annum. Now, I was just looking at the statistics. Last 5 years, in the form of disaster relief, we have given 62,000 crores to different states. People from other parts of the world, kindly excuse me, my talk would be quite relevant only to my country, and I would therefore request you to be a little patient and look at our scenario as well. So our disaster relief and investments have been 62,000 crores in the last 5 years. Maharashtra took 9,000 crores. Gujarat took something a little over 2,000 crores, and Telangana took 1,500 crores. Now, this is very important because we are speaking about building resilience at a city level. Now, look at Gujarat. It has, over the years, in the last 5 years, 2,200 crores. But if you see the during pandemic, the disease burden was quite high in Gujarat. Now, it could tide over the problem primarily because it has put up certain institutional processes, and including a disaster management cell with clear leadership and a mandate, and including touch points. So it could come out of it quite unscathed. Look at Maharashtra. Maharashtra in the year 2015 came out with a command and control center. It has put almost 5,000 cameras across the city. It was looking at situational health of its infrastructure. It had data scientists working in the command and control center, looking at the situational health of its infrastructure and during even the pandemic time. So we could say Maharashtra also had a fairly decent grip on the situation only because of its institutional strength that it built over the last 5 years. Come to Telangana, 1,500 crores. It has claimed in the last 5 years. It has, if you look at Telangana, it is prone to floods. It has had a past where many people died due to dengue, and COVID, it couldn't cope with COVID at all. Why? Because there was nothing like a disaster management cell. There was no district disaster management authority. There was no leadership, no one. Now, if you look at these 3 cities and 3 states, you understand that they're all at different levels of, let's say, response. And this will tomorrow translate to how well they can mitigate if, God forbid, there's another pandemic standing on the threshold. So India seems to be at different levels where different states, different cities are responding in different ways based on their past. Gujarat had plague. Gujarat had earthquake. It learned its lesson. Maharashtra is always on the threshold. It's a reclaimed city. So it is learning its lesson, but Telangana is not learning. So we're all at different levels, and it's very important to understand this particular thing before even we plan on how do we really understand building resilient cities, pandemic resilient cities. Well, coming to my third point, this is a very interesting point. I'm sure all of you working in the area of climate change mitigation would understand this. Over the years, we have repeatedly said that for climate change, we need to look at dense cities. Let's not look at vast metropolitan cities. Let's bring our people together. Let's create walkable communities. Let's be close with one another, etc. The second thing we did was we spoke quite extensively about public transportation. We said, let's all huddle together in public transportation. That's the easiest way to commute, move people, and don't move cars. Well, it worked fantastically till now, but during COVID, both of them have proved to be counterproductive. Density was counterproductive. Going in public transportation was counterproductive. So now, given this, going forward, do we dismantle our public transportation systems? Do we again go back to our big metropolitan cities, which are donut shaped, far away people come from, different distances? I don't think that's what is going to be done in pandemic resilient cities. We have to quickly understand how to deploy technologies. This is exactly where we need the help of technologies. We need real-time data. We need geolocated data. We need publicly available data so that our city managers can quickly act, and our control and command centers are doing a pretty good job. Now, something related to this, my friends, this is something that I've been always, it keeps coming back to me because I live in a city. All of us basically live in cities, and we are on an adrenaline high. We are always excited. Adrenaline is what? In a human body, it gives you excitement. So living in a city is always exciting, and our adrenaline makes us work more. We are enterprising. We do a lot of things. But going forward, adrenaline has to do other things than just give us excitement and the push to work. What should it do? It should put us on high alert. It should make us vigilant. Our adrenaline should help us become more vigilant towards any kind of pandemics that are lurking around the corners. And each citizen has to become a citizen sensor, and he should be able to communicate seamlessly with the government authorities, and that information has to be seamlessly integrated into a command control center so that the cities can take quick action. So this is the third point. Well, the first point, my friends, this is also, I'm sure as practitioners, most of you would know, our cities have absolute disregard for technical reports. They just get 2 hoots for technical reports and expert advice. I can tell with confidence because I've soiled my hands. I've advised several cities. I've not only worked in India, I've worked in other parts of the world, but India is really in the bottom, really in the pits. What we don't do is, when we have technical reports that tell you your city is going to sink sometime soon, We have taken conveniently those vulnerability maps, those technical studies, and shoved them into the almirahs in our offices. I think now is the time to pull them out, dust them, clear the mites, start reading them, and start digesting the material there, and maybe start sharing it. Not only that, I would say that you have to go one step further and start having these scenario planning discussions where we need people who wear black hats. I don't know how many of you know that typically in a scenario planning exercise, you are praised when you talk about the glorious future. So the people who are pessimistic, people who wear black hats, are not really encouraged. But I would certainly say, bring those guys in. Bring those guys in and let them talk the worst things that could happen to you. Now, why? Why am I saying that? Because as all of you experts would know, that no risk report in the world predicted this pandemic. You look at Pinkerton report. What was the risk that was predicted? Corporate espionage. Excuse me. So the point is, it's very important to understand that none of these reports can accurately tell what might actually land on your head. So we have to be very clear, get all those pessimists in. Now, the last and the most important point is, now how do we go forward? How do we rectify the situation? I don't know how many cities know this, but our National Disaster Management Authority has come out with a fantastic report in the year 2019. You bother to open that report, go to the page that talks about biological emergencies and public health emergencies. You will have a beautiful plan laid out. What is the role of a center? What's the role of the state? What is their short-term plan? What's the long-term plan? Institutional capabilities, capacities, funding, touch points, channels of communication. Everything is written there. So every city should be pushed, nudged, threatened to read that, so that they will actually read it, internalize what is written there, and implement, go back in their cities and start implementing it, because we have been lucky this time. We may not be really lucky going forward. So in closing, quickly, I'd like to say that two things India can draw upon, two success stories. One is we have managed the Amarnath Yatra, which is again a part of the disaster plan very beautifully. Even Kumbh Mela, seamlessly we manage because we have the administrative capabilities. And this is what I call as a demonstrated capability. In fact, the vaccination program itself is one brilliant demonstration of capability at administrative level that we have. So we have to draw strength from these and just ensure that we do have pandemic resilient cities, and amen to that.
Thank you.